Okay, you're looking across the street here in Holyoke, Massachusetts, on the High Street, looking towards the east. We're on the western sidewalk. These buildings are so big, we've got to stand here and look up. Four-story building. You can see there's a seam in it, and that's because it was built at two different times. As they got money for the next part, they would build the next part right alongside of it. And in this building were, on the first floor, of course, there were grocers and so forth. On the second floor, there'd be professional offices. And on the third and fourth floor, there'd be apartments. And it still runs pretty much on the street in that model. The building's name is the William Martin Block, and it was built in 1860. It's Italianate style. It looks rather simple, but it's very strong buildings to be here for 143 years. The building itself is a very simple style, and the reason why is because they just wanted to make a commercial building as fast as they could. All right, now across the street from those, though, is another building, and on the ground floor, of course, they have the stores. That's called the Oriole Block, and in that one they had milliners, and the milliner that was there actually had the building built just for that, built in 1865, Italianate again. It's a little more ornate in the window style, both above and below it. And remember, these are milliners, and they probably wanted things to look fancy because they sell their products out of their ground floor stores, and then they'd make them on the second, third, and fourth floor. They'd press the hats out of the felt or whatever they're making out of, and then they would dye it. They would make the different sizes and distribute from here. So there's a lot going on. This building is from, again, 1865, so very old again. Now we're going to look across the street. And now we're looking across the street at what used to be the Fernandez restaurant. It's that corner of Hampden Street and High Street still. And we're looking towards the western edge this time. And this building is very old. Most people would say, looking at it, that it must be new. It's actually probably an 1870s building. It's always been, in the past, divided into three, and its facade is actually 15 feet more forwards onto High Street direction. And that was in recent years, and they've done that on purpose. In the past, this building was a little bit shorter, and it was divided into three parts. On the interior back, it's still that way. And they had made it to be three storefronts. It seems like a modern building, but when you go in the very back, you realize it's all brick. And the footprint is very much like the Sanborn Insurance maps show. And so it's quite surprising to most people. Now, what we're going to do is look at the parking lot. Why? Because the parking lot is where two buildings were at one time. And we're looking at the mural of the Kraft building. That's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what was in front. It was the Hutchins Hotel in the front, and then the Corsair block right between it, this and the Kraft building. And the Hutchins Hotel was, of course, a hotel on the second and third floor. I have a picture on my website, so check it out with a big explanation of what it was all about. Of course, it was owned by Hutchins. It's a beautiful picture, and it's probably a hotel for a very long time. I traced it through the decades. In at least half century it was a hotel. And between it was the Corsairs block. And the Corsairs block was a shoemaker's block. His name was Charles Corsair. He made boots and elegant shoes for men and for women. And that was only on the ground floor. And on the upper floors there was, for instance, a dentist that was not only a dentist, but he also sold dental supplies to other dentists. And on some of the upper floors, there were like a feather shop. A woman would buy a feather for display to decorate herself. That's how incredible society was back then. They had these cool things. Okay, so thank you for coming to this corner.